This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Oh my God!
Welcome, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 50. On this episode, we have a former WWE, former NXT wrestler who will be joining the show as the Doc got to sit down and ask a couple questions. We also have the news and notes segment where we have a massive return of a featured wrestler, of a WWE champion. Also, some New Japan injuries, as well as an ROH champion possibly headed to WWE. You know, we got Super Showdown, and we've got SmackDown as well as Raw to review. Again, along with me, the one, the only. He is the man. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz? Is this your new intro?
Yeah, baby, I like it. DOC in the building.
The notorious one.
Shout out to the advocate, Dennis Farrell, finally revealed. Oh, man, Dennis treated the Detroit Sports Podcast Network like VIPs at the Championship Wrestling League. I had a great time out there in Brighton, the Legacy Center. Dennis was awesome. I mean, we got there early. We got media passes. We got to walk around, kind of see a little bit of the behind-the-scenes stuff, go in the locker rooms, see how they set up the ring, see how they set up matches. It was great, and Dennis brought over Matt Stryker, Big Cass, now known as Big C, in the Championship Wrestling League, and it was really cool to see, you know, Big C kind of handle his business, kind of arrive into the building, talk to the people, and kind of get down and handle his business. So I got to see the behind-the-scenes stuff, and obviously Cass was a little bit apprehensive about talking to the media, but Dennis smoothed things over. He said, look, these guys are great. John will ask great questions, and he sat down with me in the bleachers, and we had a great chat, and it was really cool because at this point in time, when someone vouches for you and then you deliver, he was really cool and gracious. And basically, it's really interesting in that everybody just doesn't want to be like shocked by a question. They don't want to answer questions like, hey, what do you think about Vince McMahon? Do you hate the WWE? And things like that. I get it. But in the end, you don't have to be so uptight. These guys definitely could be a little bit more.
They're very guarded.
Very guarded. You don't have to be guarded. Look, if I ask you, hey, what do you think about Vince McMahon? You say, look, Vince McMahon's great. I can't wait to get back there. That's all you got to say.
Yeah.
You know, if anyone asks you any kind of questions, nothing's going to be, you know, looked at and taken that way. I know they can be a little bit guarded because they don't want me postering things like Cass says he hates Vince and things like that taken out of context. And it sucks because of the way that sometimes media handles athletes. They're so scared and guarded. Like he was a little bit nervous, but I just wanted to ask, hey, as a fan, what do you like about wrestling? What have you been doing? Things like that. So I asked him great questions and it produced a great video. And it's just cool to see, you know, DSP get represented in the way that I want it to be. And it's great to see a wrestling event, and I'm proud of Dennis of what he's doing because he's putting in a lot of work to take something from the ground up, working as part of that league. And it's kind of reminiscent of us 5 years ago, going from, hey, look, we're a basement operation to where we are now. It's great to see things from the startup level, but holy cow, the difference in production of what it takes to run an event. Holy cow, bro. It's a lot in terms of talent and all the things you would think about going wrong, going astray happened. Wrestler, talent relations, timing, production stuff. It's a lot. And there's a lot of problem solving, a lot of troubleshooting that has to go on. And it's just a big undertaking to run a wrestling show. It's not easy. And the costs are extraordinary. It's not a cheap thing to put on a wrestling show anywhere.
Stick around for the Big C interview. Again, Doc got to sit down with Big C and ask him quite a few questions. They had a really nice back and forth. Stick around for that after our Super Showdown discussion. What was probably the craziest thing you've seen at the CWL event?
Ryback showed up. Ryback was a surprise. Nobody had known that he was there, and so Dennis had teased it all week that, hey, there's going to be some talent here. MVP was there. Zach Gowen, former WWE star, was there, and then there was
still
going to be
wrestling without a leg, right?
Yep, still wrestling without the leg. It's really cool to see. And the biggest surprise was, the event takes place, and at the end, Ryback shows up. So that was cool to see. Surprise moment, big pop.
How massive is Ryback in real life?
Oh, dude.
Is he gargantuan?
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
Dude has put in time in the gym, and he looks all of his weight and height. So it's a great thing. Go check out championshipwrestlingleague.com. 3 more shows coming up, and they're all over the state of Michigan.
Yeah, you can check it out on channel 38 WADL here in Detroit. What time? Do you know what time it airs? Is it at midnight?
Midnight on a Friday evening.
Okay.
So October 12th, I think it is.
So set your DVRs for that and watch that. How cool was Matt Striker? It seemed like you guys had a really good rapport. It seemed like he was a guy who has a quick wit, and he's fun.
Professional. I want to say this. When you've done the job for so long, you can just roll with it, and you're just comfortable. And that guy is in the industry. He knows how to announce. He knows how to get a crowd going. He knows how to just take a mistake and just roll with it and to be natural. And when you see it, you definitely rubs off on you. And yeah, Matt Striker was a guy that was making the rounds, definitely talking to us and other podcasts. And he was just a fun cat. And you could tell that, some of the training that he's been part of in terms of talent relations and speaking to the media. There's a difference between being really guarded and being really open. And a guy like that with personality, that's the guy you want to feature. You want to feature him, let him announce, let him express to everybody what the CWL is all about. And I enjoyed the talk with him because he asked me a question. He was like, what do you think about the Red Wings? And it was fun to do. And he was great. And all the guys were great. The halal beefcake, the local guys were great. And that was the first time, obviously, Dennis comes over and he's like, so do you want to do it in character or you want to do it regular? I'm like, oh, regular. He's like, no, what are you talking about? Do it in character. And I messed up the first guy's name because it was the genetic jackpot and the Sultan of Shawarma, the halal beefcake. Okay, so I go out there and I'm like, this is the genetic beefcake. And he's like, whoa! And they were in character and they were screaming to the high heaven. I'm like, that I was not... So Dennis taught me something too.
That's
because
cool.
It was a lot to remember, and they roll with it. But when the guy put the creatine on his bicep, it was a great shot, and they were great. The halal beefcake featuring the Sultan of Shawarma, the genetic jackpot. They're the talent. They're the rising tag team in the CWL, and it was great. Check out Detroit Podcast, and that's what makes it fun, is that when you build a relationship with a cool cat like Dennis Farrell, and please check out his stuff too.
He does great work.
Dennis77 Farrell, the advocate for the DOC, doing great podcasting and now doing great work with the Championship Wrestling League. I can't thank Dennis enough for what he did. He made us feel important, and he definitely made himself available to talk about it. And he's also featured. So stay tuned to the end of the podcast. We're going to include the Big C interview, Matt Striker, and Dennis Farrell talking about what the CWL is and what they bring to the table. And check them out on WADL, Channel 38 in Detroit. They're going to air 2 hours every single week for a month straight.
That's awesome. All right, let's jump into Monday Night Raw. It was a great time at CWL.
Perfect opening to have.
Let's jump into Monday Night Raw.
Yes, perfect opening to have Dean Ambrose. He cut a great promo.
Yeah, it was good. Next thing you know, Braun Strowman comes down, and they end up having a pretty decent wrestling match. I think Dean Ambrose showed he could go the limit with Braun Strowman, which is cool because Braun Strowman usually gets in the ring and he destroys everybody but Roman Reigns. So it was a really good match. It was fun to see. Dean ends up losing due to a DQ because Roman and Seth intervened to help protect Dean. What did you make of the first 35 minutes of the show? Because we did have a little bit of we had like 15 minutes of a promo, then we had like a 20-minute match. What did you make of all this?
A lot of people were saying, look, it's oversaturated with the Shield and Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin, but I enjoyed it. I liked the way it's evolving. I mean, it was great after the match. Dean Ambrose goes to Seth Rollins, I could be the Intercontinental Champion. So they're kind of planting more and more of the seeds of doubt. I wish to set up the show that Dean Ambrose would have made a different choice. He was given a choice whether he could wrestle Roman Reigns for the title, whether he could wrestle Seth Rollins for a title, or Braun Strowman. And he went the route of challenging Baron Corbin, and Baron said, okay, fine, you want to go that route? You're going to fight Braun Strowman. And I like the way they're showing it. They're not oversaturated, but for me, I look at it and I go, obviously, when they're feuding, there's only so many matches you can do. So the creativity level kind of dips a little bit when you just have, again, you got, the likes of Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler fighting the Shield. And that's where they're going. I just think that they got to utilize different things. Like maybe the Kevin Owens show could have had them on again, or they could have had a different way of doing it other than, because like you and I have said, some feuds need physicality, some feuds need entertainment. These guys have been physical in the ring a lot. So some time apart away from the ring would be good, where there's some feuding behind the scenes. It's just some promo action. I think I need just a little bit less action from these guys.
I think that's where they were going with this, though, because what they did was they were able to break up the 6 main guys and spread them throughout the show, where you had Dean and Braun, you ended up having Roman Reigns and Dolph Ziggler, and then you had Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. So I think they tried breaking them up, and they interspersed that talent throughout the show, which I'm going to be honest with you, I think this is one of the best Raw shows that we've had in quite some time.
Yeah.
This was a very good Raw show, and I think it was basically held together by these guys. You had good matches. There were a lot of really good matches, but I think these guys and their story was the thread that really intertwined everything and pulled it all together. So after Braun Strowman and Dean Ambrose have their match, we had the little backstage segment with Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose. We then have Baron Corbin exercising more of his power, and he schedules Roman Reigns versus Dolph Ziggler. What do you think of this match and basically the first hour of the show? It was 2 matches. It was a little bit of some promo time, and then it was just this was your first hour. It moved by so quick. It normally doesn't happen like this on Raw.
Obviously, they're setting up the Super Showdown, so I enjoyed the wrestling. I thought it was a great match. Look, Roman Reigns and Dolph Ziggler are great. They can handle their business, and so anytime you put them in the ring, I can watch it. It was great. I thought it was a really decent match. I thought it could have been a candidate for a match of the week as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronda Rousey and Ruby Riott have a good match. They keep Brie out of it, which was good. They also kept Liv Morgan out of it. She's still dealing with the repercussions from her concussion. We then have Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. Now, they have a very, very good match. Seemed a little bit rushed. It kind of felt like they were trying to get everything in here. In the end, we have the heels beating down the faces. The heels stood strong. What did you think of this? Did you love this? Did you think this was the right way to go here?
Yeah, I thought it was definitely the right way to go with it. I think that right now it's very interesting to me to see who's going to go over in this feud, because all these guys definitely could take the next step. There's a lot of question marks, the dual question marks regarding what Dean Ambrose is going to do, what Drew McIntyre is going to do. So all in all, the back and forth nature, it's been fine. But I would say that for me personally, some people did message us on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, and they said, look, that's a lot of the main angle, the Shield and Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler in that first hour and a half. It kind of seemed like a lot.
It was a lot. And that's why I kind of said at the end, it felt a little bit rushed. It felt like we have a time limit, but we got to get all this stuff in. It was a ton, but I think they do a really good job. They're the selling point right now. They're the feature. They're the big event on Raw, and I think they did a very good job with this. On top of it, you have some open-endedness to this, because is Drew McIntyre gonna turn on what is it, the Dogs of War? Is that what they're going by now? And is Dean Ambrose going to turn on the Shield? So I think you've got a lot going on here that's really, really interesting with the storyline.
Who should go over if it's just a straight winner? Who should go over in this feud?
It's probably going to be the Shield, right? I mean, I don't know if they should, but it'll probably be the Shield who'll end up going over. Look, I love Drew McIntyre and I love Braun Strowman. I also find Dean Ambrose's new character reinvigorated, and I find it reinvigorating. But I think it'll be the Shield that'll end up going over. So we then kind of fast forward a little bit. We get to your favorite part of the entire show, Mike Putty's favorite part of the show. We get this segment where Kevin Owens and Elias are basically sitting out in the ring, and Elias ends up chirping the crowd, and the crowd loses its shit. Like, when I say they go absolutely bonkers, they go crazy, and they took over the show. Elias makes a remark about how the Seattle Supersonics were moved to Oklahoma City, and the crowd just goes ballistic, like absolutely nutso. So much so that you got to see professionals be professionals. Kevin Owens and Elias rolled with the punches. They kind of went along with it. It worked out great. It was so good that the next segment, it really helped heighten it and elevate it. I mean, you had a Bobby Lashley match that was like, wow, this is really, really good. How great was the crowd reaction, and what did you think about what it meant to this match?
Oh, it was a great comment. I think whoever wrote it definitely deserves the credit, but it is cheap heat. Obviously, they didn't think it would get the reaction that it did. But what sparked it off was Elias saying that Seattle doesn't deserve a team. But then he said, you know what? Oklahoma deserves a team. And when they said that, it just popped off, and it was really awesome to see. And it was really cool to see Kevin Owens screaming, especially with how that popped off. So it was wild. It was just one of the great heel things. And that's what makes a show, is that sometimes the crowd can definitely get in it. And I want to play the clip too, because it's worthwhile to play it, to hear the reaction just for a minute or so. It's really crazy. From Monday Night Raw, you have Kevin Owens and Elias in the ring, and let's see the interplay between them, and then the crowd reaction was just awesome.
Kev, it doesn't make sense, you know? It's like having a basketball team in Seattle.
Listen to the crowd.
And then they realize, oh, we did something.
Listen to the roar of this crowd.
No respect for Detlef Shrimp.
Elias hit a sensitive button. Got Seattle right in the feelings.
Holy cow.
That's what poets do.
Just the prolonged boos.
Look, Oklahoma City. Now I get that. The team here just doesn't make sense.
You see how that's what wrestling is about.
That's awesome.
And I think it highlighted for a lot of people what some of the weaknesses are, is that there's not enough quality heels outside of people hating Roman Reigns, John Cena. You don't get reactions like that to a lot of things. So It was an outlier. So it made the show. It made a really quality show because of the fact that the fans took over, and it was probably one of the loudest heel reactions we've heard in about 5 years.
Yeah, it was absolutely great. Wow. It was amazing.
Now, I think you and I both maybe were a little bit disappointed with SmackDown. It was kind of a little bit...
Well, you didn't want to talk about the nostalgia that we had at the very end of the show? So at the end of Raw, we just got to mention, we'll just throw it in there and then we'll just move on. Kane and Undertaker basically destroy HBK and Triple H.
HBK shaved, and I'm like, it's not a feud I'm interested in.
No,
I'm not interested.
Me neither.
No.
Me neither. Overall, Raw was really, really good.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to SmackDown. SmackDown struggled. It was a struggle bus episode all day long. I was uninterested in at least the first hour.
Yeah, it was not that good. You look at it and you go, when you open the show with AJ Styles not in the building, I get it. You can give him some time off. He shoots a vignette from his house. Paige addresses Samoa Joe and his actions from last week and its continuation of the feud. It's fine, but AJ Styles needs to be in the building. And throughout seeing Paige as general manager, I just am kind of perverted, and I'm just thinking, man, you know what? If she was in there with a New Day, that could get some buzz too. You know what I mean? They've not done it yet, just as a tease. Like the New Day's doing their pancake bit, and all of a sudden maybe just Paige, just music comes out. And because there's, for us, perverts, we all know what's going on. They've kept them not on screen together.
Separated.
It would be great.
The funny thing is, while you mentioned that, I found Paige to probably be the most enjoyable part of this first hour. Mm-hmm. I think her turd cutter is amazing in those jeans she was wearing. She looked exceptional.
She looks great.
Then we start second, and we start hour number 2. And this is when Aiden English shows a video of Lana basically saying...
One night in Milwaukee. I liked it.
She wanted him. And you could tell it was cut. There was more that was said, but it leaves you on a cliffhanger. And he tells you that he's trying to sell this video to TMZ. I found this to be enjoyable. It was different. It didn't get the heat or the reaction I had expected it to get.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good. I thought they did a pretty decent job with it.
Very decent job. And then the moment that I think everybody was excited for, The Miz, and you have Shelton Benjamin, and you have Shelton Benjamin fighting Daniel Bryan. And prior to the match, The Miz goes, look, this is the new Shelton Benjamin. You're going to be more passionate, you're going to be more aggressive, and you're going to handle your business. So it played out perfectly. A great match. Match of the week candidate, Shelton Benjamin, Daniel Bryan. put on a great wrestling match. Again, the cutaways for commercial takes away a little bit, but the match was great. Shelton Benjamin, surprise win, and you have The Miz continuing his assault on Daniel Bryan. I thought that was the highlight of this 2-hour SmackDown.
Really? Because I thought the very, very end was the highlight for me. Again, I love.
Course, you're biased.
I love Becky Lynch. You know the deal. I found the reaction that she got from the crowd equally as amazing as what Kevin Owens and Elias got. The crowd was so into her. They gave her a standing ovation when she came out to the ring, and she soaked it all in. She then shows this poster that she wants made up for Super Showdown, where she is basically has one foot standing on top of Charlotte. Charlotte comes down to the ring. Did you see Charlotte whip that microphone? I thought she killed a kid.
That was
she threw
crazy.
that microphone so hard as she was walking down to the ramp. Absolutely insane. I thought she hit a child in the face and knocked him unconscious. Anyways, Charlotte gets booed and like booed out of the ring. It was nuts. Absolutely nuts. Anytime Becky mounted an offensive attack, the crowd erupted. Anytime Charlotte mounted an offensive attack, she got booed. In the end, Becky is left in the ring holding her title on her back. Charlotte is standing outside the ring and she's yelling up at Becky. The whole time, the crowd is just giving it to Charlotte. I love this role reversal. I love this. This is awesome. It's so great to see a heel get this much love. It reminds me, and I keep going back to this, it reminds me of Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? And I know Stone Cold was a face, but he was like that. He was like that anti-hero, right? He was the guy who was against the authority figure. He was the guy who was flipping you the bird. Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't your generic good guy. He was something else, and the crowd loved him for it. And this is what you got going on right now with Becky Lynch. She's the heel. We all know she's the heel, but we all buy into her story, and we all want her to win. It's awesome.
I like the photo that she used of her standing over Charlotte. It was a great scene. I knew you would like it. But in the end, for me, it's one of those feuds where you look at it and you go, if you're a fan of Becky Lynch and you're a fan of Charlotte, that's fine. It's just not where my direction is.
Right.
It's not where my attention is. My attention is a little bit more towards those that are being underutilized, like Asuka, like Shinsuke Nakamura.
Those storylines are so horrible right now.
Yeah, they're not the best, though. That's right. The women's division right now on SmackDown is highlighted by Charlotte and Carmella. But I definitely like others to be utilized a little bit more, some more mid-card talent be elevated as well. And for me, I'm kind of a fan of Naomi. I'd like to see her do a little bit more and get in the mix too, because she's kind of taking a dip. Natalia's taking a little bit of a dip, but everybody's kind of now looking forward to Super Showdown to see, does Nikki Bella turn on Ronda Rousey? That's going to be an elevated storyline over there on Raw.
Do you care about it?
I think it'll be interesting. Yeah, I do think that you need some badass women heels on Raw, and I think Nikki Bella could be just as hot as, especially with the way she could present herself. She could be the likes of a Francine, similar to what she did over there.
Don't bring up Francine.
Francine was awesome.
Don't disrespect Francine that way.
Nikki Bella is sexing it up. She could be the likes of a Francine as a manager. if she did it. Yes, she could.
No,
2 PG. She won't be.
Yeah, it's way too PG. Francine was that deal, bro.
She was the deal. But so is Nikki Bella. She's not ugly.
Hey, look, I learned a lot about myself with Francine. All right?
No doubt, right?
There were many, many late night evenings by myself in a box of Kleenex. All right, moving on. Which show was better? It has to be Raw, right?
Raw was better this
Raw,
week.
hands down. For me, the Jock match of the week, it's going to, and the reason I picked this is, again, it's story development. It's adding to what's going to happen coming up with Super Showdown. It is the Drew McIntyre Seth Rollins match.
Great.
Just because there was so much involved in it, and it was cool to see the heels beat everybody down. It was cool to see Dean Ambrose come out a little bit late and try to lay people out with was it a kendo stick or an axe handle? It was good. It was really, really good. That's my pick for match of the week.
Now, this weekend is the Super Showdown. If you want to get up early Saturday morning, 4 a.m., you can get up and watch it live. Obviously, it'll be replayed throughout the week. Any interest at all from you? Any match that is just must-see for you? And what do you think is going to be the surprise moment? Maybe a title change here or there? Anything that you think extraordinary could happen this Saturday?
Okay, so 3 different matches I want to see and that I'm invested in right now. One is what's going on with Raw with the 3 guys who we mentioned were basically the mainstay of the show. So Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre versus The Shield, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. I'm invested in that. I want to see what happens. I want to know if one of these guys is going to flip sides. I want to see how this plays out. It maybe not even Drew McIntyre flipping sides. It could just be Drew McIntyre going ballistic and just turning on Dolph Ziggler to go do his own thing. You know, it could be something as simple as that. I'm invested in the Becky Charlotte match. I'm in love with Becky Lynch. I think she's awesome. I think she's doing a great job with this character. This is like the most over character in all of WWE. I think she's doing a great job with it. It's amazing. And then, of course, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. Now, the build for this, I think, has been lacking. I think the direction it has gone in is been trying at times. The one thing I will say about both these guys, when they get in the ring, they're ring generals. They know what they're doing. They can tell a great story. It will be awesome. It will be something to watch and something to see. What about you?
Yeah, a lot of buzz regarding the fact that maybe Samoa Joe could take the title. I don't think it'll happen. I think it'll be another quality matchup. I'm definitely interested in the tag team title match from SmackDown, The Bar versus The New Day. Definitely fascinating to see how that storyline evolves. Obviously, for nostalgia, seeing Triple H, HBK, Undertaker, Kane, that'll be a fun matchup. I mean, hopefully it's quick, but obviously the main event stuff is obviously what everybody wants to see. I can't wait to see what the main event status is going to look like in terms of who gets over Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre versus The Shield. That has the opportunity to have a lot of surprises, but I think you and I are both kind of in the same boat where we feel like it's going to be like a glorified house show. Mm-hmm. Not too many major issues are going to pop up. I think you and I can expect that 85% of the title holders are probably going to come back. Maybe one title change.
Yeah, maybe one.
Maybe one.
Maybe one. All right, so you want some news and notes?
Yes, definitely hit me with Jock's Weekly Professional Wrestling News and Notes.
Do you remember Punishment Martinez? I'm not sure if you've seen him at the ROH show.
No, tell me about him.
All right, so Punishment Martinez is like 6'6". The dude's a freak show, right? He's a massive man who moves like he's a cruiserweight. He has left ROH. He was their television champion. It's believed he's headed to WWE, probably going to start in NXT. So watch out for him. New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to say my bad. Apparently Tanahashi is sidelined with a neck injury. Somehow this got through our crack staff here at DSP. Not sure what happened, how we missed this. Not sure how long this has been going on for, but Tanahashi is sidelined with a neck injury. That being said, his belt, the junior weight division belt, is up for grabs. Marty Scurll is now trying to capture that. Cody Rhodes just recently won the New Japan Pro Wrestling U.S. Heavyweight Championship by beating Juice Robinson. The king of the cruiserweights. You remember Neville? Anybody remember Neville?
Yeah.
We have a Neville sighting. Neville has returned, people, this time in Japan for Dragon Gate. So he's come back as Pac, which was his original name. He appeared on Tuesday's night's showing over there for Dragon Gate. Now, in Dragon Gate, this is where he really made his name and really became who he was. He's come back again as Pac. That was his old name. After he left Dragon Gate, he bounced over to New Japan for a very brief time, and from there, he ended up going to NXT and to WWE. But this is basically his home base. This is where he started. Neville is now back on the wrestling scene, and you can expect to see him in Dragon Gate. An Evolution reunion has been confirmed for SmackDown 1000. So Batista will be back with WWE. It's interesting because Batista wants to do something with Triple H. He wants them two to have a feud. It's going to be interesting to see if WWE is receptive to this, because in the past, WWE has not. And at certain times, WWE has stopped talking to Batista because he has pushed so hard for this match. Also rumored, Shawn Michaels will be wrestling at Survivor Series this year. You have any interest in this?
Not really.
Yeah, me neither. Indie wrestler Joey Janela will be out of action for at least a year. This is after he completely blew out his knee at an indie show. He lost his ACL, MCL, PCL. He's got bone fractures in his knee. He's got a patella injury. His whole knee just basically exploded as he jumped off the top rope and kind of stuck his landing wrong. So he's going to be sidelined for at least a year. This was a up-and-comer. This was a rising name in the indie scene. He was a lot of fun to watch. It really sucks for this to happen to him right now. He'll be back, though, so don't you worry. That's all I got for you for news and notes.
Very good. Good week of wrestling. Now, as advertised, you're going to enjoy these next few minutes with Matt Stryker, Big C, formerly Big Cass of the WWE, and Dennis Farrell, who will again talk to you about the Championship Wrestling League. Welcoming in professional wrestling superstar Big C here on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We're here in Brighton, Michigan, Championship Wrestling League. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, coming off the heels of All In, the indie scene is super white hot. What was your take on one of the marquee wrestling events that took place recently?
I just couldn't believe how quickly they sold that building out and how many tickets they sold and how successful it was. And I'm not saying that as a knock. I just couldn't believe how fast it all happened. And it's just a testament to how big of a deal the indie scene is now and how big of a deal professional wrestling is now, not just throughout the country, but all around the globe. It's huge, and I'm glad to be here in CWL and get the opportunity to explore the indie scene a little bit because I've never been there before.
No doubt. And since your departure, what have you been up to recently?
I got to be honest with you, working out, eating, and binge watching a lot of TV shows. Catching up on some shows that some friends of mine have recommended. I'm currently on The Wire. I finished Breaking Bad. I finished This Is Us. That's a guilty pleasure. I've finished quite a bit of television shows, just binge watching. And, just eating right and hitting the gym and just trying to get back in ring shape, even though that's hard to do without actually being in a ring, but doing my best.
Now you're here, CWL. What can we look forward to in seeing you in that ring tonight here in Brighton, Michigan?
Well, I got a lot to get off my chest. I got a few things I'd like to say. Some things I, haven't said yet. I've done a podcast where I gave some of my thoughts, but there's a lot of things that I need to get off my chest that I really, really want to let out tonight, and I'm excited to get them out there because I know everything I say, someone out here is going to have their iPhone out and they're going to throw it on YouTube and show the world what I said and my thoughts on my departure and all that. So just have a lot to say.
Here again with Big C, Championship Wrestling League, Brighton, Michigan. Now, when you sit down to watch a wrestling match and you're just sitting as a fan, what do you look for?
As a fan, I'm just looking for someone to grab my attention, whether it's on a microphone, charisma, aggressiveness, just grab my attention. That's the first thing I'm looking for. And sometimes, unfortunately, there's matches out there that don't do that. But the first thing I look for is grab my attention right off the bat, like right away, and I'm in.
Now, it's well known Detroit has a white-hot wrestling scene. What's been your experience coming into town and being a part of the Detroit sports scene as well as the Detroit wrestling scene?
Well, the Detroit sports scene has, rivaled with New York for quite some time in many sports, so I don't have much to say about that. I'll keep my thoughts to myself. I don't want your fan base to not like me. But as far as the professional wrestling scene, amazing fans. I remember being at the Joe a few times, and I remember specifically there was one time at the Joe where AJ Styles threw me over the barricade, and then here comes John Cena, and his music hit and the roof blew off the place. And I don't remember hearing many, many pops that were that loud. And that's just a testament to how passionate the fans are here in the Detroit metropolitan area.
What's it like to travel the country to do something that you love? You're passionate about this sport, and you've gone around the country, basically all around the globe, doing this. And what's it like to travel and to be a professional superstar, a professional wrestling superstar?
Well, it's a dream come true. It's what I've always wanted to do. At the same time, I think a lot of people out there don't understand the hardships of the industry and the travel and the rental cars and the flights and the hotels and all that. And I think that's something that maybe some fans out there underappreciate. But in terms of just being able to live out my dream, it's been amazing. So continue it and continue on the indie scene, and then hopefully one day get back to the big show.
If there's one or two things you'd like our audience to know about you that they may not, Big C, what would you like them to know about Big C, professional wrestling superstar?
I don't think many people know this. I can sing. I could sing very well. I had a sing-off with Aiden English in NXT. I'm sure you could find that on YouTube, but not many people have ever seen it. I can sing, and I can dance.
Singing and dancing, as well as a professional wrestling superstar. If people want to find you and where your appearances are going to be in the future, especially here in the CWL, where can they find you?
Currently, my handle, I don't know if I can, I'm going to change it, but both my handles on Instagram and Twitter are at BigCastWWE, but I will be changing those soon.
Thank you so much for your time. Big C in the house.
Thank you, bro.
Doc here, Detroit Sports Podcast with professional wrestling superstar Matt Stryker. Brighton, Michigan Championship Wrestling League. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for calling me a superstar. I appreciate that. I haven't been called that in about 5 years.
Everybody knows coming off the heels of All In, the indie scene is white hot. Everybody's talking about it. What do you think right now of the indie scene?
Well, I think the indie scene is the water that goes into the soil of wrestling, and the flowers that bloom are the stars that we see in the future. I started my career in the independent scene, and then for 10 years I was fortunate enough to be in WWE. Now the last 5 years I'm with Lucha Underground and Major League Wrestling. I wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for the independent scene. This is where it's organic. This is where the fan can reach out and touch the wrestler and say, I saw him before he was. It's almost like if you got to see Miguel Cabrera before he became arguably one of the greatest hitters of our generation, you tell your friends and your kids, hey man, I saw that guy. Or people are watching Michael Fulmer now, or things of this nature, sports references. So yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Where do you think it can go from here, especially after a show was independently ran by wrestlers and sold out within 5 minutes?
I think it's a testament to the people that have a passion for this sport. Everyone that loves this sport remembers why they fell in love with it in the first place. It's to a generation forgotten. It's a bad example, but people remember where they were when Kennedy was shot. People remember where they were in 9/11. People remember where they were the first time they laid eyes on pro wrestling. And I think the powers that be here at Championship Wrestling League, they have that passion. They understand that moments make memories, and that's what CWL is all about.
Speaking of moments, when did you know you wanted to do this special sport, professional wrestling?
About 5 minutes ago. No, again, the memory is vivid. I'm 7 years old, and my father asks me if I want to see someone fly. And no 7-year-old's ever going to say no to that. And from there, I was absolutely hooked, and I was enamored with the pageantry and the larger-than-life figures that you see in this sport. From there, I went and I trained, and I'm a big faith guy, so I do believe that it was divine intervention that I'm here now speaking to you.
CWL, what are you expecting from tonight, Brighton, Michigan?
Expect the unexpected. I just think that it's the fact that the people behind CWL love this sport so much, and they are committed to bringing the fans something different. You're going to see people, for instance, tonight, it's the first appearance since he's been on WWE television of a huge, tall superstar. So you can go to 1 million independent shows, but you're not going to see this guy. You come here in Brighton, Michigan, and you get to see people that you never thought you'd see live and in person. And I think that's what you should expect from CWL. Now I have a question for you. What do you expect from the Detroit Red Wings this year?
I'm expecting them, a lot of young talent. I'm expecting them to, try and do a little bit better than last year and get to the postseason. They got a lot of young talent that's got to develop. I do think that they got a strong chance if the organization trusts the young cats. Now, are you a big hockey guy?
So I work for RotoWire and FanDuel. We do hockey podcasts. I'm big into fantasy hockey and fantasy baseball. And Mr. Boyd, the pitcher for the Tigers, has won me quite a bit of money. I know he hasn't won anything for anyone else. But the question is, should fantasy hockey people draft Dylan Larkin this year? Yes or no?
No doubt about it. You'll make some money. You heard it here with Matt Stryker and the Doc. You'll make money with Dylan Larkin.
There you go. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
I appreciate your time. I've teased it long enough. I've said it. The advocate for the DOC, the man, Dennis Farrell. What's up, sir?
Boy, I missed you. It's been a while since we've been together.
Championship Wrestling League. I'm really impressed at the work you did here, and you got great name talent, Big C in the house, MVP, great local talent. Tell the audience a little bit, what is the CWL, and why should local fans of professional wrestling come out to the shows?
I'm not going to lie to you. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. This young kid, 24 years old, saved up for 12 years of his life. Every cent he had saved up and created this thing. This is a labor of love for him. He's put in a ton of work. This is all of his money. That's why you should come out. If you like to see people do things on their own and try to create something, I mean, there's no other reason why. You've got great names. Look, By the time this comes out, I'm going to spoil us. You know who's going to be here tonight, guys? Ryback.
Wow.
Ryback is going to be here tonight. MVP is here. In a few shows, James Ellsworth will be here. These are big names in the industry right now that you can come out, see, get autographs, take pictures, hang out. A great family atmosphere, and it's an affordable night out. Sure, you got to drive from, where'd you drive from?
The East Side, Macomb, Michigan.
And was it worth the drive for what little bit you were here?
Of course it was. It was a great experience. I got to talk to Big C, Matt Stryker, and to live a dream because Kenny and I, my producer, we're big fans of the sport. And when you get a chance to talk to these guys a little bit away from the ring, it's just a great experience. And Matt Stryker told us something that was really fascinating in talking about the indie scene. And he was talking about how the indie scene is the lifeblood of professional wrestling, in that a strong indie scene is needed in this sport so that great stars can be created. It is the true lifeblood of the sport.
You know, Michigan has a decent wrestling scene. It could be way better. There's XICW, which I'm a fan of. There's Clash, and now there's this. And hopefully the fans in Michigan will listen and come out and support them. If you love wrestling, there's no better place to be, honestly. Every league organization out here has a million reasons why you should come spend your hard-earned money. This is no different, but hopefully we can show you a great family atmosphere. I know some of them there's cussing and stuff like that. I'm not a huge fan of, but that's their shtick. They fill the house, and we're trying to be more family-friendly.
And you can go to get information on this great league, championshipwrestlingleague.com. The shows are going to start airing October 12th, midnight on WADL, Channel 38 in Detroit. So a lot of work has been done already at the grassroots level. Again, championshipwrestlingleague.com. Dennis Farrell is here with us. Now, tell us about your podcast. Amazing work done, the Wrestling Perspective podcast. I've thoroughly enjoyed the great guests, all the work that you've done in the wrestling scene. How's it been going?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm a nerd. I love the industry. I love talking wrestling. And no longer is it that dirty little secret where you watch it, but you can't talk to your friends. Now it's okay to be a wrestling fan. It's okay to wear the shirts in public. I mean, I remember being 20-something years old and being embarrassed to wear one of my favorite wrestlers' shirt in public. And now you can do that, and that's what I do. Now I'm not embarrassed. At first, when I started a podcast, I do one with P.D. Williams and one's with James Ellsworth. I used to be embarrassed to tell my friends I was doing a wrestling podcast. I mean, come on. You're in a profession that if you were to go to any of your coworkers and go, guess what? I talk wrestling. They laugh at you, but no longer do I feel like that. And that's good for the industry, that it's shaking off that dirty little, whatever you would call it, the scum that used to be on it, where you're a wrestling fan, you're a total nerd or live in a trailer. All that's gone now.
And like we asked the superstars, how important is it to have a strong indie scene in the world of professional wrestling?
Well, it's strong if you go to CWL. I mean, plug there. But no, it really is, whether it's here or Tennessee or anywhere. If the Young Bucks were not doing what the Young Bucks were doing, none of us would be sitting here. The indie scene would slowly be dying. So, you look that there's a single pinpoint where everything's breaking from there, and we are part of that scattering of, times are changing, and hopefully people will spend their money, because that's ultimately what keeps the indies alive. Is if you come out, you buy a shirt, you buy an autograph, and maybe sometimes you can't do it, but just come out and support it.
You can follow Dennis at Dennis77 Farrell. He's doing great work now with the Championship Wrestling League, trying to grow it at a grassroots level here in Michigan. Check it out. Again, championshipwrestlingleague.com. Thank you so much, Advocate. I appreciate all the help you've done for us at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network and the CWL. I know it's going to do great things.
Thank you.
If you're interested in indie wrestling, check it out, championshipwrestlingleague.com. And I want to thank all the supporters of this podcast, the Breaking Down the Ring podcast. They have a weekly live podcast every Wednesday on the Podcast Detroit Network, 9:15 most Wednesdays. Check them out on social media, BDRcast, and definitely check out Dennis Farrell and all the work that he's doing at Dennis77 Farrell.
Awesome show this week, bro.
Great show, as always. Always enjoy talking wrestling with you. And I can't wait to see what happens with the Super Showdown. And I'm thankful again to Dennis Farrell for all the access, for the ability to talk wrestling and shop with great professional wrestling superstars. If you've liked or disliked anything at all that we've said, feel free to leave us a voicemail, 248-579-8686, or message us on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. We read it all. Thanks again. See everybody next week.